Hey guys, so we just got home from the BeetleJuice movie, and I know I don't typically do these kinds of videos, but yeah, I figured, what the hell. Um, so we had a really good time. I'm not really quite understanding why the reviews online, at least when you do a Google search, it's getting like a 3.5 star rating. We went and I thought it was a good movie. Now, was it as good as the first one? No, the original is always going to be the original. It's always going to have, it's going to be iconic more so than its sequel. I mean, that's just how it goes. And you have to go into this with your expectations being maybe a little low or just realistic. You can't go into these sequels thinking that they're just going to blow it out of the water. It's going to be better than the first, and in this sequel, I was very, very surprised. I laughed so much throughout this movie. The puns and the dark humor, it doesn't disappoint. It's just like what you would get out of a Tim Burton movie, just like what you got from the first movie. The storyline was good. It was just a continuation of the story of the family 30 some odd years later, where they're at now, and the circumstances that just kind of happen to bring Beetlejuice back, and yeah, I can see where it kind of has the element of the cartoon series, because Beetlejuice, though, is kind of a villain. At the same time, in a way, he does help, but yet he's obviously still, a type of villain. I can't I can't articulate that very, very well, but it works out. I will say that. The characters are great, even the new ones. Jenna Ortega's character, I loved how they storylined Lydia's daughter and the relationship between them. That was I loved following her character and seeing her play on screen and what was going to come out of, her story. And I can't, gosh, there's so many things I want to say and I can't because I don't want to give away too many details. The colors of the movie, the aesthetic, the overall like cinematography, it's so much like the first one. So it doesn't disappoint, which is why I say it's so cohesive to the first one, from, all the visuals and the color palette, the costuming, the makeup. It's just what you would expect. It's not so different, 2024, 21st century that it's like, it turns you off. It's not like that at all. There's a lot of cohesiveness to it, which is why I enjoyed it so much, visually, and also the storyline. I liked how they tied up and gave closure to the story of the couple that passed away in the first movie. So they do address that. I'm not going to get into any specifics, but just know that there is a mention, there is closure there. And then the story just goes on, to the current circumstances. And we had a lot of fun. I mean, it's just a good get out of the house, escape for about an hour. It's like a 105-minute long movie. It's not even that crazy long. It's just enough to get out of the house, have a lot of laughs, and when you walk out of there, you have a lot to talk about because it was just we were still laughing as we were leaving the theater. We were just going back and forth on all the references and from the first to the second movie. And did you catch that? And did you see this? No, did you catch that line? And, there was just a lot. I can't say enough good things about it. Again, was it as good as the first? No, but it does complement the first movie very well. And that's what sequels should do. It doesn't preach. There's no weird, indirect political messaging, like what you get in a lot of movies nowadays. It doesn't have any of that. It's just a good story, a continuation of a story. And everybody delivered. Everyone did great, And I think there's something to be said here that, this is Tim Burton's work. And the last thing he would even want is for this to go south. So give him some credit, in that obviously, and to my understanding, this sequel has been in the workings for years, not just in the last few years, but it has had a lot of ups and downs of trying to revisit a sequel, but then other things coming up and the whole idea getting derailed and getting shelved. And finally, by the time the Wednesday, I guess, TV show came out on Netflix was when I guess it sparked an interest again. But there's been a lot of up and down over the years in getting a sequel rebooted. It's had many, many storyline changes over the years. And then finally, I guess Tim Burton, it was just the right time. Like he had said years ago, time and circumstance, he was never opposed to a sequel. So, give him credit. The guy doesn't want to put out his own work in a half-assed way and have it fail. And nobody would want that. If you create something, you want it to be a success. And it seems like to me, it was just the right time, and he did it and it went well, very well. It did drag a little bit. There's a few scenes that seem to kind of drag the movie getting started. It was slow to start, but it didn't leave you wanting to throw your popcorn around and, leave the theater. It was nothing like that. It was still engaging because you knew it was building up. You knew there was going to be more coming down the pipeline because, it's Tim Burton and he typically delivers, in his work. So anyway, had a lot of fun. I would rate it at about between a 7 and an 8. As far as rewatchability, I'd say a solid 9. It definitely would be a great companion to the first movie, just like the Addams Family movies, from the first and the second one. This, to me, has that same cohesiveness. So anyway, I loved it, had a great time. And I'm not really one into like the horror thriller movies of this time of the year, of this season. So this really just hit all the feels for me for the Halloween season. And, just kind of like the original Hocus Pocus movie. It had a lot of those feels, and obviously the Addams Family movies. So that's kind of what I compare it to in terms of enjoyment and entertainment. And when you walk out of that theater, you're not going to forget this movie. You will remember the story, the characters stories. You will remember the jokes and the puns and the humor. There's just no way I'm going to forget a lot of the stuff I saw in that movie. It was hilarious. I laughed so hard. So many jokes and puns. Anyway, like I said, Tim Burton's morbid humor just doesn't disappoint, at least not in our family. Anyhow, so don't take my word for it. Just get out there and go see it. It is worth your money. It's worth the watch. You're not going to be wasting your time or wasting your money. And I know it's not cheap going to the movies nowadays. But this is a good one. I am not one to go to the movies. I am not an avid moviegoer. So I feel like that's saying a lot coming from someone like me, and anyhow, I will let it go. All right, guys, y'all have a good evening, and maybe you'll see me in another Erica's Thoughts. We'll see. Right. Bye.